welcome back to the Auto Nerd Podcast, the show that teaches you how to sell cars without selling your soul. My name is Andrew Sardone, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most powerful tools in your toolkit that's actually so small and hiding in plain sight that you probably haven't even noticed it yet. It's called a micro yes. These tiny little agreements that your customer makes along the way that look like nothing, but stack up to be this beautiful ink on contract sort of thing in the end, and that pays us out big. So if you know how to wield this tool, it's an easy way to get that person that's sitting in front of you that may not actually like you because you're simply just a car salesperson to them. We're going to go ahead and get that fortified concrete wall to just go ahead and crumble. Let's dive in. So years ago, I had a customer come in, and I remember she was very nervous, and her husband was not helping the situation either because his anxiety was also through the roof. And these people had their guard up. They did their research, and at the time, their research was searching around on Google because chatbots weren't around then, and trying to figure out what's the best way to buy a car. And they came in, as most people do. Here's the castle walls, here's the archers pointing at me, and the drawbridge is coming down, and the knights were coming out. I was nearly doomed. They definitely didn't want to talk to what they felt was a gatekeeper, somebody that was simply just there to block them from buying something. So I realized I had to turn this on its head, but for people that were coming in that were armed to the hilt with, hey, here's how I'm going to buy a car, which a lot of times goes directly counter to how we actually need to sell them, I knew that I needed to make a couple changes. So what I did is I hate using it as a tactic, but we have tools. And so I pulled the tool out of the toolbox, which was micro yeses. Micro yeses give people the opportunity to build up to saying yes in the end. It allows them to have some positivity going on. This particular individual, I didn't want to ask this couple any sort of big yeses right away because they were the type that at hello, they felt pressured. And in one way, I feel for them because buying a car, you're spending a lot of money with somebody that you don't know. So it could take a little bit to warm up. What I wanted to do with this individual is just make sure that these little micro yeses built up to a much bigger thing in the end. It built up to just raw positivity. We started out with something simple. Coffee? Yes. Is that the car that you're looking for? Yes. As these little micro yeses started piling up, all of a sudden, this individual, the wife who was shopping for the vehicle, she started to feel more positive. And by proxy, her husband's anxiety started to drop once he realized that I was in the game for them. I mean, heck, it was the middle of July, I remember, and it was saying, well, and it also has heated seats. What do you think? Now, full disclosure, we were in Wisconsin at the time, and everybody says yes to things like heated seats. Not in July and August, though. July and August, usually those questions don't come up, but I guess for some people, heated seats in July is just what it takes to get that extra yes. But by the time that the numbers hit, their heads nodded 15-ish times without even realizing it. When I went and gave them the price, all those yeses guided me along the way to finding them exactly the right car that they would need at that exact right moment. Even though they didn't give me the information, I started off with some generalities and then got all those little micro yeses going until we were, well, where they needed to be. And by that point in time, they already gave me all the information. This is the power of stacking the small wins. And the small wins always lead to the big commissions. You just need to tackle it with caring and kindness to drag down anxiety. The nerd stats on this thing have Gallup coming on in and telling us that, hey, only 9% of people rank car salespeople honesty as high. Oh man, starting with trust and what they like to call their red zone. And we should all be very well aware of this fact that we are not generally known as the most liked people on the planet, which is why I love this business. Because if people can come to you and you set yourself apart from everybody else, next thing you know, you are winning pretty easily here. Well, bar is already pretty low for us to go ahead and step up and be better. Also, test drives. Test drives convert 50 to 70% more often than visits without them. This is where most of the micro yeses are going to come in. Is once you have figured out where you're moving this customer to, what vehicle you got, and then pulling the vehicle around. This is the big thing here, is that a lot of the times when people are sitting in front of you and their anxiety is up, it's because we're not offering up an experience that they feel comfortable with. This is when you start pulling out the luxury stops. You start doing things that other dealerships wouldn't normally do, which mean the average sales consultant is going to take the customer pumpkin patching. The customer is going to pick the most expensive thing on the lot, and we're going to end up having to go ahead and carry that into negotiation, and the customer is going to shoot us in the foot. On negotiation, it's going to be brutal because they can't afford the vehicle. So getting the micro yeses out there as far as talking a little bit of price in the beginning, because we have to. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. I know some people out there will go ahead and say, don't talk price before you show them a car. Congratulations, you're on a vehicle they can't afford. So talk some money up front. But with 50 to 70% of people needing a test drive to say yes, it's probably just a good idea to do it. Secondly, this is a selfish one. I loved test drives. The reason is I got out of the store. I got away from those people. Yeah, I did think of my dealership as my dealership family, but even family is going to drive you nuts after a little bit. So go on test drives. Just get out for a minute and allow the customer that ability to have their eyes glaze over, just look out the window and enjoy themselves while driving their car. Because that's when people go into their little moment of zen and go, wait, how can I put this in my driveway? You want that to happen. You want to foster that. Next one here. So how's this one? Buyers visit now just 2 dealerships, and the first dealership has a 54% closing rate. Yeah, if you build trust and engagement, you can win them the first time. The customer has entirely changed from the past. Now, you will hear me say all the time is that customers never change. The reason is we don't all collectively change overnight. It doesn't happen. But generationally, we do. And right now, the younger generation has a faster closing rate than nearly anybody else out there. The reason is that this is a process that they just research. They go out, they look for their vehicle, they bump into somebody that they can engage with, and if they don't engage with that person, they go somewhere else. And if that person's slightly better, they buy from them. Or if that person's slightly worse, but they can afford the car, they buy from them. Story over. Our job is this, is to give them the best possible experience. Nobody can be better than you because you are there connecting with them, getting that trust going and actually creating that connection. So as far as that, 54% first shot. Now, those positive micro moments we were talking about a moment ago, enough of them can trigger what is called a halo effect, making customers rate everything in a more positive manner. Those small experiences just are like positivity breadcrumbs. Then once you add enough of them to the customer's brain, all of a sudden they're just happier. And that's the point here is that being consultants, we are partners. We need to make them feel more positive. We need to make their headspace better. With this little halo effect, again, get those little micro moments out there with your difficult customers. Yes, 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 yes. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I get this. They're warming up to you. Here's a shared positive moment in deeper connection. This is from Fredrickson in 2009. And emotional connection that drives loyalty intentions more than price. When a customer says yes to something small, it's not just as taking a step forward. It's a micro moment of positive experience. That small win can make them feel more comfortable, more valued, and more open to continuing the conversation. In psychology, we call it a halo effect. One good moment colors the whole experience. Stack enough of those, and you've got a customer who doesn't just like the car, they like the process. And again, this drives back to the whole like founding tenet of Auto Nerd is that it's not about the price. It's not about the car. It's about us and what we have to offer the customer as far as establishing the partnership with them in their dream. This is why these little micro moments are critical because those customers that we have every so often, that are those ones that just take a minute moment to thaw out. This practice just melts them on down. Now, this tool does need some building. You start early, and we'll just call it step one here. First, yes, you grab it in the first 30 seconds. Can I grab you a bottle of water? What would you like? The good coffee or the dealership coffee? Now, the customer is going to get a little laugh out of this, and they'll go ahead and just tell me, pick one. They get a little chuckle. It's not much. It might only be like huh, but that's about it. That's all you need. You are now off to the races and you're rolling. But we want to keep it low risk because as soon as we start to apply a little bit of pressure here, this is going to be the individual where the drawbridge is going to come all the way down. You're going to see Lancelot standing there with his big mighty sword, and we don't stand a chance at this point. So low risk. Questions along the lines of, mind if I pull this one into the shade so we can take a better look at it? Believe it or not, that's actually going to give you another micro moment. And then want to try the self-parking here on the vehicle. It might work this time, right? By the way, a little sidebar. If you offer a vehicle up there that does have some form of self-parking, Practice it before showing somebody. Almost every single one of those systems that's on the planet, it takes a little bit of assistance, and you don't want to make yourself look like a dummy when you're showing it the first time. So just practice it a little bit, and hopefully you can iron that out. But things like, do you want to try this feature? Do you want to try the self steering? If it has some form of self driving or autopilot type system, do you want to try it? And make sure that it's something that the customer will say yes to, because the no does chip away a little bit, not very much, but those micro no's don't have quite as much of an impact as the buildup of micro yeses. But you don't want to start stacking those micro no's. So micro yes, and then layer them into some sort of flow once you finally have figured this out. Get the approval for the test drive route. Right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a right here. Yes. And that again will do it. Try a feature on the demo drive that you know that they're going to enjoy. Maybe pick their favorite color or trim. Now, I know it's a little bit risky going, hey, what color do you like? And the customer looks out the window and goes, well, I like that really pearly white. And it's only on that high end trim car. But either way, light, dark, where do you want to be? But as far as this, if you know it, get that micro yes over and over and over again. And then reinforce it. This is really a cherry on top. Something along the lines of awesome choice. I'm super happy that you picked that one. Or this really works well for you. Or perfect. You'll love this based on what we've talked about. These little validations keep this momentum alive. And research shows that they also help elevate the mood too. And eventually the customer's fortified concrete castle wall with knights and guards and arrows all pointed at us, it starts to just dissolve into the moat. It goes away. The customer starts feeling good, and they're more likely to continue saying yes over time. This is about thawing them out, looking at somebody that is coming in and for all intents and purposes, they're being kind of a hard ass right now. And because of the things that they have read about us. And we're just going to just tear that down piece by piece by piece. We're not taking a sledgehammer or anything. We're using a tack hammer through all of this. Now let's transition to a little bit of scripting here that actually works. Now, with all the scripting, many of you know that when it comes to scripting, I'm not a huge fan of saying things verbatim, but I am a really big fan on food for thought. So with any of this, go to my webpage, autonerd.com, sign up for that newsletter. And the reason I'm telling you this now is because I'm about to release a whole bunch of tools, like a ton of tools, and you're going to want to get in on this. Take a second, go on over there, autonerd.com, sign up for that, or actually, I'll just drop the link in the show notes. And when you receive these tools, you're going to get a whole bunch of scripts along with this stuff. And I, again, like I said, I'm not a fan of scripts because when you say them verbatim, they're not your words. You sound like a robot. This is one of those reasons those phone scripts, they don't work. I'm sorry, they just don't. So with this stuff, take those scripts, make them your own. I left a lot of places in these PDFs so you can jot your own thing down to make it your own so you can be the best you can be. So how about we try a warm up here? Good question right off the bat. Let's start with the warm up. Yes. Do you want the good coffee or do you want the dealership coffee? As you're holding the pot with the sludge in the bottom of it. Yes, that's our dealership coffee. People ask me all the time, Andy, why do you like the dealership coffee? And I tell them because it's consistently crappy at every dealership I go to and it tastes the same. I'm a weird one like that, but the deal is that this will get a little chuckle because no dealership has good coffee unless they have one of those like brand new awesome machines, and even then they barely clean those things. But you'll get a yes out of it, which is the important part here. Now the next one is going to be a feature yes. Want to see something this model does that most people miss? Well, yes, I do. I mean, who's going to say no to that? Curiosity is like a seed that always breeds a yes. Then the next one, the value proposition, yes. Would it help if I showed you what your monthly payment would look like with that particular package? Why, yes, it would. And you're educating them at this point of, hey, if we go up, it is going to cost you a little more. Not me. It's going to cost you. This is your choice to go up in payment. But there are moments that we don't want to create like a rabbit hole. And like I said before, those micro no's really don't affect you too much. But if they're not authentic, those micro yeses that are negative can really just decimate all the hard work that we've done. Now, remember, the person when they walk in that you use this tool with is typically going to be that person that you got to thaw them out. Those brick walls can go up again really quickly if the spidey senses go off in the negative direction. Try not to go down the direction of fake authenticity. Fake authenticity to get fake yeses are not going to help you. So those positive ones, they add up, and that's kind of cool, is being able to trigger our sense of simply feeling more positive from yes moments. Psychology lends a lot of information to us to allow us to understand what's going on inside of somebody's brain for this sort of thing. So again, thaw them out, little micro yeses, but it's got to be authentic. If it's not authentic and you're asking customer yes questions to just simply start stacking the yeses on top of each other, hoping for a good outcome in the end, asking questions like, do you like breathing? It is not gonna it's not gonna help. There's nothing there. It doesn't help them achieve their end goal. And that is kind of their point of walking the door is you gotta start off with questions that move them along and have them see that you're actually moving them along and not just stonewalling them from buying a car like many people tend to think that we do. Also, forcing that agreement through pressure and being pushy is not going to help either. Get that out of your system. The pressure tactics, they're outdated. They're not working. All they're doing is pissing people off. And if you're like, oh, yeah, I sold this customer today, and man, I really just closed them on down. If you had to use high pressure tactics to do it, congratulations. Look at your paycheck. You probably sacrificed a huge chunk to get to where you are. Happy customers will go ahead and buy. We just need to get that serotonin level up high enough where they'll go ahead and say, hey, anxiety's down. I want to go ahead and buy. Nothing can stop me. But skipping huge chunks as well of these micro moments with customers that need to be thought out will let them sit there through large chunks of the road to the sale that they're just frozen. They're just looking at us with armor still up. So we got to start bringing that down. And that starts off with, well, being authentic in how we go about this. So try not to be pushy and try not to get those fake yeses that won't spark that positive emotional bump that we're looking for here. Because people feel happier when they're more connected after those genuine micro moments and not the scripted ones. So again, go to my webpage, autonerd.com. Sign up for that newsletter. You'll get the Saturday dispatch, which is always nice. But in addition to that, you'll also, when it's ready, you'll get this massive tome that will give you a lot of the information that I cover here, but also a lot of scripts that you practice yourself and fill out on your own. Now, we have to be humble and self aware of something here is that you can have people come in and you can get all the micro yeses in the world. You can go on the test drive, they can pick out the floor mats, they can go through all of it, take a selfie of themselves in the driver's seat and whatnot. But as soon as you put the numbers in front of them, all of a sudden it might all just simply fall apart, right? You can have somebody come in, they'll leave for lunch, they'll never come back. The lesson with this and the point is that some yeses don't necessarily fall into that halo effect area. Sometimes those are just Midwest nice. We have to make sure that when we ask these questions, it's with the intent of them leaving with that car. So, customer goal focus. And to help you out with this, I turned micro into an acronym because why not? Big nerd over here. M, make the first one easy. Yeah, make the first question stupidly easy. I, integrate naturally. These questions should be part of the conversation, which means it can't be left field. Then, C, confirm positivity. You need to make sure that each one of those questions triggers a positive emotional response. Again, they can't be simple, frugal throwaways, as again, you like breathing. Who's going to say no to that? Then, R, read the intent. Oh, own the big yes moment. And when you hit those genuine yeses, the ones that make the customer smile and lean in, you know that you made them happier in that moment. And happier customers are the ones that buy. They come back, they tell their friends, they tell their family, and then you have people coming in the door. Is it important to go ahead and thaw people out? Yeah. And here's why. We have so many people that come through the front door that have this illusion or delusion of how a car should be purchased. And in the end, they leave angry at us because they didn't buy. Well, it may be because that we're not going ahead and looking at the world through their eyes and trying to figure out how exactly we could resolve their issues and solve their problems. And if you're thinking right now to yourself, they're their problems, they're their issues, I'm not here to fix them. No, you're here to go ahead and partner with them in order to buy a car. That's what you're here to do. You're here not here to stall in front of them. Remember, the dealership gave you that job so you can go ahead and sell their inventory on their property with their phones, with their computers, with their CRM. The job that we have is incredible. It gives us the ability to sell and also have somebody else take care of all the paperwork. Remember, our job is to make people happy. And if we can make that happy and get those relationships going and get the connection to spark, get the connection to happen, All of a sudden, those little micro moments build up to that connection happening much quicker and trust being something that then becomes profitable. But always remember those micro yeses, every single rung that you climb, that you lay into place. If you stack enough of them up, it becomes much easier for somebody to give the big yes when it's time. You simply charge them up, and then when the big yes comes, it's for them, it's just another yes. So if you want to look into this a little bit further and grab more tools with this and the accommodating tool that goes along with this as well, again, go to my webpage, autonerd.com, sign up for the Saturday morning dispatch. You're going to get an email that is full of positivity, tells you a little bit about what's going on over here and what to expect in the next week. And also at the same time, you're going to get that big tool drop when the big tool drop is ready. And I should be charging a lot of money for this thing, but heck, I'm going to give it away for free. So just go on over there, autonerd.com, sign up for that. And with that being said, get that halo effect running because it works exceptionally well. And when you figure out how it works, that tiny little micro tool that you didn't even know was there all of a sudden becomes a massive sword that you will be wielding to thaw out pretty much anybody that walks in the front door. Thank you for joining me. Go out there, spread kindness, spread caring, because those are the razors that bring down anxiety to get people to buy a car faster. This is Andrew, Auto Nerd out. See you next Thursday.